Hello. In between playing some stock Friedrich Grosse, I figured I would give you a peek of what's the main prize once you get past the Friedrich Grosse, which is of course the Grosse Kurfürst. Right now I'm leveling the Friedrich on my Russian account, but of course on my main account I have all the tier 10s, and I figured it was time to take the Grosse Kurfürst out for a spin. Now this ship is of course it is it has big strengths and some significant weaknesses. The weaknesses of this ship are of course the fact that it's extremely clumsy. It has the turning circle of an aircraft carrier, which means well over 1,000-meter turning circle. It's massive. I mean, in size it's absolutely massive. It's a third larger than the Yamato. So if you think the Yamato is massive, this one makes it look small in comparison. And that's always been one of the massive downsides. Of course, being huge in this ship is not a good thing. In this game is not a good thing because you're easier to shoot at, and you're a big, easy target to hit. And the firing angles are awful. You see how much broadside I have to give just to be able to bring my back guns to bear. The gearing has laid smoke here, which I am trying to use, but ultimately it doesn't look like there's too much of an opponent presence here, so I might just charge out of this smoke at some point. We'll see if I maybe get some good broadsides here. Now, strengths, of course, Hydro. German battleships, tier 8 onwards, they get Hydro. The Bismarck Hydro is okay, but the tier 9 and tier 10 Hydro is amazing. The Grosse Kurfürst does pop out full broadside, which means I can bring this big broadside to bear. 12 420mm guns means you deal a lot of damage. Another weakness this ship has is of course anti-air is pitiful, and because of the massive size you are a very attractive target for any sort of carrier. But strengths, huge HP pool, almost 106k health, turtleback armor, which means no citadels. And yes, it can still be punished, of course, by penetrations, just like you're seeing me do to this enemy Kurfürst, dealing 15k per volley pretty much, which isn't anywhere near the max. You can easily hit 25k, 30k volleys on an enemy Kurfürst if he gives you perfect broadside. So you can deal a ton of penetrations, but the difference between penetrations and citadels is, of course, that penetration damage you can heal 50% of, whereas citadel damage you can only heal 10% of. So if this guy was able to flee, he would be able to heal up a significant amount of the damage he's taken, which is of course what gives the Grosse Kurfürst so much tankiness, is the fact that it takes very little unreversible damage, unless of course it's torpedoes, because those kind of count like citadel damage, meaning you can't really heal much of it. Hindenburg turns to give broadside. I'll see if I can punish him. Nope, he abandoned. Oh, I think he baited me. You see, he stopped turning. I think he did. That was actually a pretty good play by him. The cruiser turned in time to dodge my shells, and that was of course a smart play. He was about to turn, he saw me shoot, and then he abandoned the turn. But you see, I think he wants to go for this turn after all. His guns are pointed at me, so he's kind of expecting this, but he's already committed to the turn now, and that means I'm able to bring my front guns to bear. Now, only front guns doesn't sound like that much, but it's still 6 guns. And yeah, that was what, 37,000 damage on him, so he's not going to be very happy about that. And the Grosse Kurfürst is of course it's great at punishing any type of ship really, because big guns, and a lot of them, means that you wreck cruisers and battleships equally easily. Now, I don't want to make the mistake that you often see people do on this map, and this is when you have gotten sea control, they start sailing into the enemy spawn. Now, I don't want to be sailing into the enemy spawn, chasing them while they flee, and meanwhile giving up all map control. Instead, I'm going to turn into B, and this is what ideally people should do. When you've gotten C, you push into B, because that's of course where the enemy will be coming. That's the objective of this map, is of course getting these capture points, so I want to protect it at all costs. Pretty close on the Hindenburg, but I push into I'm going to start pushing into B here, even though they have like three DDs. I got my Hydro coming up in 40 seconds, plus I have my fighter plane, which will help me with the spotting. So even though I am clumsy, being able to see the torp should hopefully allow me to do some sort of torp beats. Now, you can't count on, especially ambushes. DD ambushes are a huge issue for the Kurfürst. If you go around some island and there's a DD waiting for you, you have a, even if you see the torps coming with the hydro, you're simply so clumsy that you have a hard time dodging the torps, and you pretty much have to resign yourself that yes, you're gonna eat a bunch of them, and all you can do is really mitigate how many you eat. Okay, looks like so our Zuma is pushing into the enemy spawn. We got some battleships sailing around in our own spawn, which is of course terrible, but we do have a Bismarck who's pushed into B, so I'm gonna see if I can push into B as well. But there's quite a bit of torpedo soup going down here, and Neptune is spamming me. Neptune has smoked up and is hoping to spam me from that smoke, which is of course quite annoying. Let's see, will these torps run out or not? I'm hoping they will run out. Neptune, probably not expecting the volley from here, so even though there are closer targets, I go for the one who's not expecting my shells in any way, and I'll see if I can maybe punish this Neptune with the unexpected fire from here. And I can, in fact, managing to score a citadel on him, using the front guns as well, but less likely to land hits, since I expect him to be aware of me now and taking some evasive maneuvers. Only get one overpen in this case. I think he changed, slowed down, accelerated, either one. Popping Hydra of course, and I continue pushing in. This other Neptune keeps spamming me. Let's see if I can maybe hit him. I could shoot just one more time. Okay, so if we run around here, let's see if we can get a full volley in on him, see if we can punish him. Smoke shooting of course is a bit of a... Oh, I do manage to get one citadel on him. And that's of course the issue if you're sitting that close to a battleship that's willing to shoot into the smoke, as I am more than willing to shoot into the smoke. I never let them get away with it completely unpunished. So if you're spamming happily like that against someone like me, I will shoot back and I will punish you. I'm spotting two DDs here, Z46, and good dispersion, and a 13.3k volley. And that's of course why there's no point in switching to HE these days. You never need to switch to HE in your battleship. You only shoot AP, because AP can deal such massive damage to DDs. As that guy saw, a huge devastating volley on him, and he pretty much got wrecked. But now there's so much torpedoes. If I was moving faster, I might be able to dodge more of this, but ultimately I make sure I eat all these torps on the nose. And why is this important that I eat these torps on the nose? Well, that's because I managed to saturate my nose armor instantly. You might notice that the first torp I ate did, what, 20k damage? It did something like 19,000 damage. And then the last torp I ate only did 6,000 damage. That's a pretty sharp drop, and that's because I saturated my nose armor. Pretty much I took all the damage that I could take on the nose armor, so the actual damage I end up eating with the nose is significantly reduced now. So if you're gonna eat a huge spread, try to eat them all on the same section of your ship, because that's a good way of at least reducing the damage somewhat. I've got a second heal coming up. I do manage to punish the Hindenburg, but once again, 6 overpens, not a single kill. In fact, I've had some huge issues this game trying to secure any of these kills. And the reason I really want to secure some of these kills is because, well, the most of them are actually shooting at me. I'm the main tank inside B. I mean, if you look at the rest of my battleships, we got some battleships in our spawn, we got some battleships in the enemy spawn. We don't really have any of them in such a integral position as the one I'm in. Once again, a big volley on a Neptune, a Citadel, but no kill, and they keep shooting me. You see shells coming in from everywhere, all of them trying to kill me, of course, because I'm locking down this B cap very heavily for my team, and the enemy, of course, wants to get rid of me, but I can't kill any of them. All I keep getting is a lot of damage, but no kills. And even the Benson dodges my shells. Maybe I can at least get rid of this Neptune. He's been shooting at me for a good while, and my gearing kind of needs the help. And finally, I managed to get rid of one of the guns that's shooting me. Now I would love to get rid of the Hindenburg, because the Hindenburg is spamming HE on me, which is of course quite an issue. Trying to get rid of the Benson as well. I will end up eating one torp. You note that when my Hydra is on cooldown, I try to maintain as much speed as possible, and of course I'm actively changing course. But you don't want to be sitting still in this thing, because it takes so long to get moving once again. When you have Hydra on, it's a different story. Wow, even the Bismarck shooting H at me? Are you serious? Let's see if we can wait for a full broadside here and see if we can punish him. Yes, you can Citadel the Bismarck, or well, you can Citadel German battleships, but you need certain angles to be able to do it, and certain distances to bypass the turtleback, but you can still deal heavy damage. Unfortunately, I didn't really get that heavy damage. so the Bismarck will probably keep pushing in. I got a couple seconds for my Hydra to come up again, which I really need at this point. Alabama giving too much broadside against the 420s, and giving that much broadside means I'm able to citadel him, which hopefully should get the kill. And you gotta be kidding me, 520 health left. At this point I got both high caliber and Confederate, and I broken 200,000 damage, and I have one single kill in this game, which is pretty damn ridiculous. I end up grounding because I turned my guns to shoot the Bismarck, and that of course makes me a very attractive target for the enemy carrier. However, I do have an Edinburgh right next to me. Okay, that's not really much event here. I focus the planes, but one of the weaknesses of the ship is of course the lack of anti-air. However, I'm running fire prevention, so the one fire that it looks like I got a lot of fires on me, but I'm actually just having one fire burning on me this entire time, and one fire isn't really that big of a deal. And that's of course why I love running fire prevention, because if bombers come for you and you use your repairs on torpedoes or whatever, they can't set double fires on you. Or well, they have to hit your bow and stern, but the average carrier will never go for your bow and stern. They want to hit the middle of your ship. So usually carriers don't really set more than that one fire on you, which of course I love. And the Bismarck is turning away. If this Essex keeps reversing, I tap M. You saw how I got that bird's eye view. I tapped the map key, which is M, so that gave me a brief bird's eye view. Basically, you start the animation of the map view, and then you cancel it by tapping M again. So you get this quick peek above the island, and I saw that the Essex was reversing into my shells, and I pulled the trigger. Unfortunately, he just stopped reversing and started pushing onwards again, which meant that I only got overpens. However, the game ends, and what was a very action-packed, a short game, but a very action-packed one, ends up in our victory. I only really get 2 kills, but looking at the rewards I got Confederate High Caliber, which means I dealt a lot of damage, and then I got Dreadnought and Fireproof, which means I tanked a lot of damage, which pretty much means that you probably did your job pretty damn well in a battleship if you're earning those rewards. Only 2 planes shot down, not surprising. Only 2 kills with 7 citadels. That's a bit unfortunate. Could have gotten a lot more kills, but RNG gods decided, nope, not today, buddy. Base XP 2.7k. Considering how short the game was, I'll more than happily take that amount of XP. And well, they really, I don't really see our. I mean, look at the Izuma, the one that's pushed into their base. He almost got no XP, and that's why I don't really recommend that. You want to go into B, that's where the action happens. You saw how much action there was this game. It was a non-stop fight at B ever since I pushed in there. Yes, you gotta have some balls to do it as a battleship, but it's so much fun. And I mean, why do you get this massive, tanky, huge tier 10 battleship if you're not going to have any fun in it? Like, if you want to sit back and snipe, then play the Yamato. But even in the Yamato, you should be pushing up, because that's a huge threat for the enemy. Anyway, that's just of course me disagreeing with the general way many people play their battleships. Looking at the detailed report, main gun, pretty much all my damage is from main guns. My secondaries really didn't have time to do much at all. Only a 30-minute, 22-second game, and potential damage 2.1 million, pretty good, not that massive, but still pretty significant. 152,000 damage tanked, fires, 45k worth of fires. I ate a couple of torps, there are 4 of them, and of course some bombs from the carrier and a lot of focus, but hey, I survived and I got hugely rewarded. And this of course is pretty much the point of the tank build that I run on the Kurfürst, which I absolutely love. I love this build on the Kurfürst. I think it's so much fun. It's a very tank oriented build that allows you to do a lot of funny stuff, and in general just enjoy playing the ship, which I quite do. I might as well show the build, even though I'm still using the same tank build that I recommended for the Kurfürst a while back, but there's a high chance many people haven't actually seen it. Anyway, moving on to my recommended build. Right, starting off, we of course have the modules. I go for the 420 guns because I like the actual the increased damage that these deal and the increased oomph that they have. And of course there's the meme potential of running 420s. Premium repair, absolutely. Premium heal, absolutely. and if you can afford it, run the premium hydro as well. In case there's still some people who don't know it, you can switch, you click the small arrow and you switch between doubloons and credits, and you of course pay for it in credits because you shouldn't be paying for that stuff with doubloons. And finally, fighter plane, if you can afford it. I'm actually going to run a spotter plane these days because the fighter plane is questionable in its ability to defend against strikes. It tends to get killed and shot down quite easily, whereas the spotter plane of course allows you to punish ships in smokes. And that Neptune that kept shooting me from the smoke that I did end up Citadel, if I had spotter plane available right then, I probably could have devastated him in the smoke quite easily. So yeah, I probably recommend spotting plane in this case. Upgrade wise, auxiliary armaments, because you pretty much never lose your guns. Did you see me lose my guns a single time in that battle? Nope, it didn't happen. Whereas your secondaries and your AA mounts tend to get knocked out quite easily, so I prefer increasing their survivability. Aiming system mod, you want to buff your main guns as much as possible. Your AA is so crap, it's not really worth extending the range on this. I mean, it's not, okay, it's not super crap, but it's not going to be shooting down anything. No, honestly, it's super crap. Let's not sugarcoat it. Secondary is an option, but I don't really bother with it because, well, at tier 10, secondary guns don't really deal enough damage to really be comparable to how much damage your main guns deal. So I'm going fully for the main guns, faster reload on the main guns, tankiness 1 and 2. This can be debated. Damage control system mod 2. I mean, your maneuverability is really crap when you run this build, but that's kind of the purpose of this build. I want to be extremely tanky, and I want to be able to ignore fires that burn on me, and this of course helps me significantly in doing that. And finally, concealment system. You don't need target acquisition because you are running hydro. Captain perks wise, first perk is the direction center. Potentially you could run preventive maintenance, but once again, this doesn't affect secondaries or AA. It only affects the big modules like steering, engine, turrets, things like that. So you don't really need, it doesn't really give you any benefit. Whereas having the double fighters can give you some additional spotting when you need it, or in case one gets shot down, you still have one left. Expert loader, pointless because, well, you never want to use HE. You saw what I did with AP to the DD. It's disgusting. Following it up, of course, your turret traverse is fairly okay, but ultimately you probably still want, I mean, before this you could get away with not running expert marksman, but you kind of want it in the end. I would still prefer getting adrenaline rush first, and then you follow it up with superintendent. Then you follow it up with concealment expert. You want this concealment because you can actually get this ship surprisingly stealthy. 13.6 is no joke. It says 14.4 detectability range by air, but this is pretty much a lie. You shouldn't buy into this because planes have a maximum spotting range of 11 kilometers. So regardless of what your detectability range is, it doesn't matter if it's past 11 kilometers, because the max range a plane can spot you from is still 11 kilometers, because that's their max spotting range. So this could be 20 or 14.4. It doesn't matter, because it's still going to be a default down to that 11, which is the max plane range. So that's pretty much pointless. But this one, 13.6, is surprisingly stealthy for a massive battleship like this, and quite useful. Anyway, once you have concealment expert, follow it up with fire prevention, and then I would probably get expert marksman, follow it up with basics of survivability for even more tankiness. This combination means, of course, you can only have one fire burning on your superstructure, as you saw in the game, and the reduction of basics of survivability, stacking with, of course, the module or the upgrade, means that fires burn for a minus 30% duration, which means that in general they are more of a nuisance than anything else, and I tend to kind of ignore that one fire. And even then, if you happen to get really unfortunate and you blow your repair and then you get 2 fires, it's not really the end of the world either. So that is my Große Kurfürst full tank build. Now flag wise, I run a lot of XP flags these days because I want to make some elite captain XP, but the most important flags in terms of survivability on the ship is you want to run India Delta, additional healing, huge, especially when you have this much health. The 20% increases it by a ton. You add, of course, minus 20% time to fires, so that minus 30 becomes suddenly minus 50. Okay, it doesn't add up like that, you understand, it doesn't add up like that, but it reduces the fire duration even further. So these two are huge for you. And then you want to increase your reload time on consumables, hydro, repair, heal, massively good. and follow it up with secondaries. You could buff your AA at this point, you could buff your speed, but neither is really that important because I like to conserve flags for the more important ships that need them. And honestly, these three are your bread and butter, followed by the secondary range, because even though we don't go secondary build, it still increases it to 7.7 and you can get some nice fires on top. So that is the basic flag setup as well. Someone requested I do that stuff, so I'm doing it. Camo wise, I am running of course the Victory Day camo, which gives you a ton of Commander XP and a ton of free XP, but ultimately, I mean, just any camo that gives you the 3% detectability is just fine, like this one, as long as you get the 3% detectability. And never play your ships without camos, guys, come on. This, what's it cost? 7.5k, really? And you get the 3% detectability, which is huge, especially on a ship like this. Absolutely no reason not to run it. Anyway, that was my Gross Kurfürst tank build that I've featured before, but figured I might rehash it since I am featuring the Friedrich Grosse as soon as I get it leveled up a bit more, to show you guys what's the light that is waiting at the end of the tunnel. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it.